Alien soldiers laugh at human myths until their war. Hero tells the truth. Part. The massive warship Everstorm hung in space above the blue planet. Its metal hull gleamed in the light of the nearby sun. Captain Taijo stood on the bridge, his arms crossed behind his back, his green skin wrinkled around his three eyes as he stared at the viewscreen. "So that is Earth," he said. His voice was deep and rumbling. "Yes, Captain," said Lieutenant Jian. She tapped on her control panel with two of her arms while her other two adjusted her uniform. "Home of the humans." Captain Taijo made a sound that might have been a laugh. "They look so small from up here. Hard to believe all the stories." The stories about humans were legendary among the Zarathi military. Tales of human soldiers continuing to fight after losing limbs. Stories of humans surviving in space without suits for impossible amounts of time. Accounts of single human warriors defeating dozens of Zarathi elite troops. Most young Zarathi officers thought these stories were just scary tales to make them train harder. "Officer meeting in 1 hour," Captain Tego said. "General Wu Jin wants to address the troops before we begin our mission." "Yes, Captain," Lieutenant Jian said, bowing slightly. The meeting hall was filled with young Zorathi officers. Many were on their first space mission. They sat in rows, their voices creating a low buzz of conversation. Cadet Minho leaned toward his friend, Cadet Yunji. "I heard humans can see in complete darkness," he whispered. Yunji laughed. "And I heard they can regrow limbs like the Selexi, lizards," she said. "Do you believe that too?" "Of course not," Minho said. "Everyone knows most of these human stories are just made up to scare us. If they were so dangerous, why haven't they conquered more systems?" asked Cadet Donghae from the row behind them. "Exactly," Yunji said. "They only control a few planets in their home system. How scary can they be?" A deep voice interrupted their conversation. "Scary enough to make the Kral Empire sign a peace treaty after just 2 battles." The cadets turned to see Commander Sungho standing beside their seats. His uniform was decorated with battle medals, and his left eye was replaced with a cybernetic implant that glowed soft blue. The cadets immediately straightened in their seats. "Commander," they said together, saluting with their upper right arms. Commander Sungho nodded but did not return the salute. "You young officers think you know everything about warfare because you scored well in your simulations," he said. "But there are some enemies that cannot be understood through data alone." Before the cadets could respond, the lights dimmed. The main doors opened, and General Wu Jin entered. Even Commander Sungho stood straighter at the sight of the legendary war hero. General Wu Jin walked slowly to the front of the room. He was older than most active Zarathi military, his skin a darker green with age patterns across his face. One of his forearms was completely mechanical and scars covered much of his visible skin. The room fell completely silent. "At ease," General Wu Jin said. His voice was quieter than many expected, yet it carried throughout the room. He looked around at the young faces before him. "I understand many of you believe the stories about humans are exaggerated," he said. Several cadets shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Before we begin our mission to establish diplomatic relations with Earth, I want to tell you about my first encounter with humans," the general continued. "Not the official report, the truth." He touched a control panel, and a large holographic image appeared above him. It showed a rocky planet with 3 small moons. 30 years ago, I was a captain leading an exploration mission to the Sereth system," General Wu Jin began. "We detected unusual energy readings from the 3rd planet. We thought it might be a natural resource we could harvest." The hologram changed to show a Zarathi ship landing on the rocky surface. "What we didn't know was that humans had already established a small research base on the far side of the planet," the general continued. "And they had detected our arrival." Cadet Minho raised his hand. "Sir, why didn't your sensors detect their base?" "Because," General Wu Jin said, "they had technology that could hide their heat and energy signatures. Technology we didn't know was possible at that time. The hologram showed Zorathi troops exploring the rocky terrain. We sent out a standard search party. 20 of our best soldiers, armed with plasma rifles and protected by shield generators. The general said, "I stayed on the ship to coordinate." His mechanical arm made a soft whirring sound as he clenched his fist. "They were attacked less than 1 hour after landing," he said. "Not by an army, not by advanced robots or war machines, by 6 humans." Murmurs spread through the room. 6 humans against 20 elite Zorathi warriors, Cadet Yunji whispered. "That can't be right." The general heard her. 6 humans, he repeated, armed with primitive projectile weapons and wearing basic armor that offered little protection against our plasma technology. The hologram changed to show helmet camera footage. Zorathi soldiers were taking cover behind rocks as small explosions erupted around them. "Within 10 minutes, half of our search party was dead or wounded," General Wu Jin said. "The humans moved in ways we couldn't predict. They didn't follow any battle formations we recognized. They used the terrain in ways our training never prepared us for." The footage showed a human figure moving incredibly fast between rocks, firing, a weapon that spat small metal projectiles. "Look at their movement patterns," Commander Sung-ho said to the cadets. "No wasted motion, no hesitation, complete commitment to each action." The general nodded. "Humans have something we don't," he said. "They call it adrenaline. It's a chemical their bodies produce in danger. It makes them faster, stronger, and deadlier. It lets them ignore pain that would stop any Zorathi soldier." The footage showed a human taking a plasma hit to the shoulder. Instead of falling, the human rolled behind cover, switched their weapon to their other hand, and continued fighting. "That plasma shot should have severed the arm," Cadet Donghae said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," the general agreed. "By our understanding of biology, that human should have been disabled. But humans don't always follow the rules of biology as we understand them." He turned off the hologram. "I lost 17 soldiers that day," he said quietly. "When I finally ordered a retreat, only 3 of the search party made it back to the ship. And do you know what the humans did when we tried to leave?" The room was completely silent. "Nothing," General Wu Jin said. "They let us go. They stood on that ridge watching our ship depart, and they did nothing to stop us." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of as many cadets as he could. Later we learned why. They were researchers, not soldiers. They had defended their base with minimal casualties on their side, and they had no interest in destroying our ship once the threat was neutralized. Captain Taiho stepped forward. "What the general is trying to tell you is that humans are not just another species," he said. "They think differently. They fight differently. And if you underestimate them because they look physically weaker than us, you will not survive the experience." General Wu Jin nodded. "Tomorrow, we begin peace negotiations with Earth," he said. "Remember my story. Respect these humans, fear them a little, it might keep you alive." As the meeting ended and the cadets filed out, Minho looked at his friends. "Do you think it's all true?" he asked quietly. Commander Sung-ho overheard him. "It's not just true, Cadet," he said. "It's understated. The real stories about humans would give you nightmares." "But sir," Yunji said, "if humans are so dangerous, why are we seeking peace with them?" Commander Sung-ho's cybernetic eye glowed, brighter for a moment. "Because, Cadet," he said, "the only thing worse than having humans as enemies is watching them become allies with someone else. Alien soldiers laugh at human myths until their war. Hero tells the truth part." The peace talks were set to begin in 3 hours. The Zorathi delegation prepared in their temporary quarters on the human space station. It floated in orbit around Earth, a massive ring of metal and glass with views of the blue planet below. Captain Taijo adjusted his formal uniform. All 4 of his arms were covered in the dark green fabric with silver rank markers. He looked at his reflection in the polished metal wall. "Are you nervous, Captain?" Lieutenant Jian asked. She was preparing documents on a data pad. "Not nervous," Captain Taijo said. "Curious. I want to see if humans really match the stories." A soft tone sounded, and the door to their quarters slid open. Commander Sung-ho entered, followed by 3 human guards. The humans wore simple blue uniforms with silver badges. They carried no visible weapons. They were shorter than the Zorathi, with only 2 arms and 2 eyes. Their skin came in different shades of brown. One had facial hair around his mouth. "The human delegation is ready to meet with General Wu Jin," Commander Sung Ho said. "These guards will escort us to the meeting room." The tallest human stepped forward. "I am Security Chief Hyun," he said in perfect Zorathi language. "Welcome to Unity Station. Please follow me." Captain Taejo was impressed by the human's pronunciation but tried not to show it. The Zorathi officers followed the humans through wide corridors. Other humans they passed stopped to look at them with curiosity but not fear. "They don't seem afraid of us," Lieutenant Jian whispered to Captain Taejo. "Even though we could easily overpower them physically." "Perhaps they know something we don't," Captain Taejo replied quietly. They arrived at a large door marked with symbols in both human and Zorathi writing. Security Chief Hyun pressed his hand to a panel, and the door slid open. Inside was a circular room with a large table. On one side sat General Wu Jin with several high-ranking Zorathi officers. On the other side sat 5 humans in formal attire. At the center of the human group was a woman with short gray hair and dark skin. She stood as the new group entered. "I am Admiral Jin," she said, also speaking in Zorathi. "Welcome to the first official peace talks between Earth Alliance and the Zorathi Empire." The Zorathi officers took their places at the table. Captain Taejo sat near General Wu Jin, with Lieutenant Jin beside him. Admiral Jin spoke again, this time in human language while a small device translated. "Before we begin formal negotiations, General Wu Jin has requested time to address questions from his junior officers. We have agreed to this cultural exchange." General Wu Jin stood slowly, his mechanical arm making a slight whirring sound. "Thank you, Admiral. My younger officers have heard stories about humans all their lives. I believe it would benefit our future relations if they heard the truth directly." Captain Taejo noticed several young Zorathi officers looking eager. Cadet Minho raised his hand first. "Is it true that humans can survive in space without protection?" he asked. Admiral Jin smiled slightly. "Not exactly," she said. "We can survive vacuum exposure for a very brief time, perhaps 15 to 30 seconds. But we will lose consciousness quickly and die without rescue." Another cadet, Yunji, raised her hand. "We heard humans can continue fighting after losing limbs, or suffering serious injuries. Is that true?" A human man with many scars on his face answered this question. "I am General Park," he said. "What you're referring to is our body's shock response and adrenaline system." "Yes, a severely injured human can sometimes continue functioning for a short time, but this is not a special power. It's a survival mechanism that comes with a heavy cost afterward." General Wu Jin nodded. "I have seen this myself. During the Sereth incident I told you about, one human continued fighting with a severe plasma wound. But humans cannot simply ignore injuries forever." Cadet Donghae asked the next question. "Is it true humans have fought over 1,000 wars among themselves?" Admiral Jin's expression became more serious. "Our history is indeed filled with conflict," she said. "Different counting methods give different numbers, but yes, humans have fought countless wars against each other. This is not something we are proud of, but it has shaped our approach to combat and survival," General Park added. "It also taught us the value of peace. We fight fiercely when we must, but we prefer cooperation when possible." Captain Taejo found himself curious now. "Is it true that human soldiers will sacrifice themselves intentionally for strategic advantages?" Our tactical analysts find this difficult to believe. Admiral Jin and General Park exchanged a look. Then General Park pulled up his sleeve to reveal a metal arm similar to General Wu Jin's prosthetic. "During the Proxima Centauri conflict, I was part of a unit assigned to destroy an enemy weapons platform," General Park said. "We knew someone would need to remain behind to ensure the detonation. I volunteered." "But you survived," Lieutenant Jian observed. "Yes," General Park said, "against all expectations. The point is not that I lived, but that I and every soldier in my unit were prepared to die if the mission required it." General Wu Jin stood again. "This is what I wanted my officers to understand," he said. "Humans do not have magical powers or supernatural abilities. What makes them dangerous and valuable as allies is their mindset, their willingness to endure, to adapt, and to sacrifice. Admiral Jin nodded. And what makes the Zorathi valuable potential allies to us is your technological innovation, your discipline, and your honor code. Different strengths that can complement each other. Cadet Minho raised his hand again. Admiral, what is the most dangerous human weapon we should be aware of? Admiral Jin thought for a moment before answering. It's not a weapon you can see or touch, she said finally. It's hope. The room was silent, waiting for her to explain. Throughout our history, even when facing impossible odds or devastating defeats, humans maintain hope, she continued. We believe we can overcome, adapt, and find a way forward. This hope lets us endure conditions that should break us, fight battles that seem unwinnable, and rebuild after devastation. Captain Tejo found this answer strange. Hope was not a weapon. It could not destroy a ship or defeat an army. As if reading his thoughts, Admiral Jin looked directly at him. Captain, I see your doubt. Let me tell you about the Mars colony crisis. She touched a control, and a holographic image appeared above the table. It showed a human settlement on a red planet, partially collapsed under a massive dust storm. 50 years ago, our first major Mars colony was hit by the worst storm recorded on the planet, she said. All communications were lost. Satellite images showed catastrophic damage. Experts calculated that the air supply would last only 3 days if any shelters remained intact. The hologram changed to show rescue ships. It would take our fastest ships 2 weeks to reach them, Admiral Jin continued. By all logical calculations, we were mounting a recovery mission, not a rescue. No one could survive that long with the limited resources remaining. She paused, and Captain Taijo found himself leaning forward slightly. When our ships arrived, they found 127 survivors, Admiral Jin said. From a colony of 130, murmurs spread through the Zorathi officers. How? Lieutenant Jian asked. How did they survive? They recycled every molecule of air, rationed water to the smallest survivable amount, rigged damaged equipment for new purposes, and worked together without rest, Admiral Jin said. When we asked the colony leader how they did it, she simply said, "We refuse to accept death as inevitable." General Wu Jin nodded slowly. This is what I wanted you all to understand before our negotiations begin, he said to his officers. Humans are not supernatural beings from legends. They are something more interesting. They are survivors who refuse to accept limitations. Admiral Jin smiled. And now, with that understanding, shall we begin discussing our future as allies, rather than potential enemies? Captain Taijo looked at the humans across the table with new respect. Perhaps the stories were wrong after all. The truth was more complex, more interesting, and in some ways, more frightening than the myths. Alien soldiers laugh at human myths until their war hero tells the truth part. 1 week after the peace talks began, the Zorathi officers received an unexpected invitation. Admiral Jin asked if they would like to visit Earth's military training facility. General Wu Jin accepted immediately. Captain Taijo and Lieutenant Jian stood with a group of junior officers near the shuttle that would take them to Earth. Many of the cadets were excited. None of them had ever set foot on the human homeworld. Do you think they will show us their secret weapons? Cadet Minho asked, his 3 eyes wide with anticipation. Lieutenant Jian shook her head. This is a goodwill visit, not a technology exchange, she said. And remember what Admiral Jin told us. Their most powerful weapon is not something we can see. Hope, Captain Taijo said quietly. He was still thinking about the Mars colony story. I want to understand how hope defeats plasma cannons and shield generators. Security Chief Hyun approached the group. Your shuttle is ready, he said. The flight to Earth will take approximately 2 hours. General Wu Jin and Admiral Jin are already on board. The shuttle was smaller than Zorathi vessels, but comfortable enough. The seats were made to fit both human and Zorathi bodies. Through the windows, the Zorathi could see Earth growing larger as they approached. Cadet Yunji pressed her face close to the window. So much water, she said in wonder. And those white swirls in the atmosphere? Clouds, Security Chief Hyun explained. Earth has a very active water cycle. Those clouds will release water as rain. The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere. There was some turbulence, but the ride was mostly smooth. They descended toward a large landmass with mountains visible in the distance. Welcome to the Rocky Mountain Combat Training Center. Security, Chief Hyun announced as the shuttle landed on a flat area surrounded by tall green trees and rocky peaks. When they exited the shuttle, Captain Taijo immediately noticed the air felt different. It was cooler than on the space station, and it smelled of plants and soil. The gravity was slightly stronger than what the Zorathi were used to. General Park greeted them outside the shuttle. He wore a simple green uniform with fewer decorations than before. Welcome to Earth, he said. Today you will observe some of our training exercises. This will help you understand how we prepare our soldiers. They followed General Park to a viewing platform overlooking a large open field. Below them, about 50 human soldiers were divided into small groups. They wore heavy packs on their backs and carried what looked like simplified versions of their weapons. These recruits are in their 6th week of basic training, General Park explained. Today they are learning small unit tactics. Captain Taijo watched with interest. The humans moved in coordinated patterns, communicating with hand signals and occasional quiet words. Despite their obvious physical limitations, having only 2 arms and less strength than Zorathi, they moved efficiently. They seem well trained, Lieutenant Jian observed. But this is basic physical movement, nothing extraordinary. General Park smiled slightly. Keep watching, he said. A siren sounded, and suddenly the training scenario changed. Artificial smoke filled parts of the field. Loud noises like explosions came from hidden speakers. The instructors shouted new commands. Without hesitation, the human recruits adapted to the new situation. They changed formations, created cover where none existed before, and continued their exercise under much more difficult conditions. They did not panic, Cadet Donghae said with surprise. Humans, train for chaos, General Wu Jin said, joining the conversation. They expect things to go wrong and prepare accordingly. Admiral Jin, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. In our history, battles rarely went according to plan. We learned to adapt or die. Now we train our soldiers to expect the unexpected. She pointed to one group of recruits who had created a defensive position using their packs and the natural terrain. Notice how they use whatever is available. Humans rarely have ideal conditions or perfect equipment. We make do with what we have. The demonstration continued for another hour. The Zorathi officers watched as the human recruits were put through increasingly difficult scenarios. Each time the humans adapted and completed their objectives. After the field demonstration, they were led to another facility. This one was indoors, with various rooms for different types of training. This is our Environmental Adaptation Center, General Park explained. Here, our special forces learn to operate in extreme conditions. Through observation windows, the Zorathi saw humans training in rooms with extreme heat, freezing cold, high-altitude simulation, and underwater environments. Your species evolved on a planet with relatively stable conditions, Admiral Jin said. Earth has deserts where temperatures reach 50 degrees, Arctic regions below freezing, mountains with thin air, and deep oceans. We learned to survive in all these environments. Cadet Minho looked impressed. So humans are not naturally superior in strength, but they can operate in more environments than us? Exactly, Admiral Jin said. Adaptability is our strength, not superior natural abilities. After the Environmental Training Center, they were taken to a large room filled with tables. On each table were pieces of equipment, broken devices, and various materials. What is this place? Lieutenant Jian asked. We call it the MacGyver Room, General Park said with a small smile. Named after a character from an old entertainment program. He explained further. Here, our soldiers learn to create solutions with limited resources. If your communications device breaks in the field, how do you fix it with only the items in your pack? If you need to create a shelter but have no tent, what do? Several tables had human soldiers working on different problems. One was creating a water filter using cloth, sand, and charcoal. Another was repairing a broken power cell using parts from other devices. Most impressive, General Wu Jin said. This type of training explains much about what I witnessed during the Sereth incident. The final stop on their tour was a simple room with chairs arranged in a circle. When they entered, about 20 humans of various ages were sitting there. Some wore military uniforms while others wore civilian clothes. These are veterans of various conflicts, Admiral Jin explained. They have volunteered to speak with you about their experiences. For the next hour, the Zarathi officers listened as human veterans told stories of battles fought, challenges overcome, and losses endured. One older human with many scars described surviving alone in a hostile jungle for 30 days after his unit was killed. A young woman with a prosthetic leg explained how she saved 3 comrades after their vehicle was destroyed. What struck Captain Taijo most was not the stories themselves, but how the humans told them. There was no boasting, no exaggeration. They spoke matter-of-factly about extraordinary acts of courage and endurance. As they prepared to return to the shuttle, Captain Taijo found himself walking beside Admiral Jin. "I understand better now," he said. "The stories we heard about humans were not completely wrong, but they missed the most important part." "And what is that, Captain?" Admiral Jin asked. "The stories focus on physical feats as if humans have magical bodies," Captain Taijo said. "But your true strength is in how you think, how you adapt, and how you refuse to accept defeat." Admiral Jin nodded. "That is why we wanted you to see our training. Not to impress you with technology or weapons, but to show you how we prepare our minds." As the shuttle lifted off from Earth, Captain Taijo looked down at the blue and green planet. He thought about all he had learned about humans in just one day. They would make powerful allies, he said quietly to Lieutenant Jian. "And terrible enemies." "Yes," she agreed. "And now I understand why General Wu Jin insisted on peace." 3 days after their visit to Earth, alarms blared throughout the space station. Captain Taijo was in a meeting with Lieutenant Jian when the emergency lights began flashing red. "All military personnel report to the command center immediately," a voice announced over the communication system. Captain Taijo and Lieutenant Jian rushed through the corridors. Other Zarathi officers and human crew members were doing the same. When they reached the command center, they found General Wu Jin and Admiral Jin already there, standing before a large display screen. "What is happening?" Captain Taijo asked. Commander Sungho, who stood nearby. "An unknown ship has entered the solar system," Commander Sungho explained. "It does not match any known design from Earth, Zorathi, or any other allied species." The display screen showed a massive vessel moving toward the outer planets of the solar system. It was dark and angular, with no visible windows or external lights. "Have they responded to communications?" Lieutenant Jian asked. "No," Admiral Jin said, turning to face them. "We have tried all frequencies and languages. They maintain their course toward Earth." General Wu Jin looked grave. "The ship is larger than any warship in the Zarathi fleet," he said, "and its design suggests offensive capabilities." Admiral Jin nodded to a human officer, who updated the display. Now they could see smaller ships beginning to launch from the larger vessel. "We have detected 20 smaller craft deploying from the main ship," the human officer reported. "They appear to be fighter-class vessels." Captain Taijo watched as the smaller ships formed a precise formation and continued toward the inner planets. "What are your defensive capabilities?" General Wu Jin asked Admiral Jin. "Earth has orbital defense platforms and a fleet of combat ships," she replied. "But many of our vessels are on missions in other systems. We can recall them, but it will take time." Admiral Jin touched a control panel, and the display changed to show Earth's defensive assets. Captain Taijo could see that while impressive, they might not be enough against the approaching threat. "The Zarathi Empire offers assistance," General Wu Jin said formally. "Our warship Everstorm is equipped with advanced weapon systems and can be ready to deploy within 1 hour." Admiral Jin bowed slightly. "The Earth Alliance gratefully accepts your offer," she said. "We will coordinate our defenses with your ship." The command center became a flurry of activity as humans and Zarathi worked together to prepare for the potential threat. Captain Taijo was assigned to work with a human tactical officer named Captain Han to coordinate the defensive strategy. The unknown ships will reach Jupiter orbit in approximately 6 hours, Captain Han said, showing Captain Taijo the projected course. We plan to intercept them there, away from Earth. Captain Taijo studied the tactical display. The Everstorm can position here, he said, indicating a point near one of Jupiter's moons. We can use the moon's gravity to enhance our maneuverability. Captain Han nodded in agreement. Good thinking. Our ships can approach from these vectors, creating a 3-dimensional containment formation. As they worked, Captain Taijo was impressed by the humans' tactical thinking. Captain Han anticipated problems and found solutions quickly, without needing to consult manuals or protocols. 2 hours later, the combined Earth-Zorathi defense fleet was ready to depart. The Everstorm would lead, with 5 Earth combat vessels following in formation. General Wu Jin would command the operation from the Everstorm, with Admiral Jin joining him as Earth's representative. Before boarding the shuttle to return to his ship, General Wu Jin addressed the gathered officers. Today we face an unknown threat, he said. We do not know their intentions or capabilities, but we face them together as allies. Admiral Jin stepped forward. Earth has faced invasion before, she said. We survived because we adapted and persisted. Today, with the strength of the Zorathi Empire beside us, we are even stronger. As Captain Taijo prepared to board the Everstorm, he found cadets Minho, Yunji, and Donghae waiting nervously by the shuttle. Captain, Cadet Minho said, saluting, we request permission to join the defense operation. Captain Taijo looked at the 3 young officers. Their training was not complete, but they had shown promise. This is not a training exercise, he said sternly. There is real danger. We understand, sir, Cadet Yunji said, but we have learned much about working with humans in the past week. We might be useful. Captain Taijo considered for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Report to Lieutenant Jian for assignments. Follow her orders exactly. On board the Everstorm, Captain Taijo took his position on the bridge. Through the view screen, he could see the Earth ships moving into formation around them. They were smaller than the Zorathi warship, but sleek and fast-looking. All systems at full capacity, Lieutenant Jian reported. Weapons charged, shields at maximum. Communication link with Earth vessels established, Cadet Minho added from his station. General, Wu Jin entered the bridge with Admiral Jin beside him. All Zorathi officers stood at attention. Begin our approach to Jupiter, General Wu Jin ordered. Maximum cruising speed. The journey to Jupiter would take several hours. During this time, Captain Taijo observed how Admiral Jin worked with the Zorathi crew, offering suggestions based on her knowledge of the solar system but respecting their operational procedures. The unknown vessels have changed course, Cadet Donghae reported suddenly. They are moving faster and have spread out their formation. The tactical display updated to show the new situation. The alien ships were no longer in tight formation, but had dispersed into smaller groups, making them harder to target. They know we are coming, Admiral Jin said. They are adapting their strategy. How could they detect us at this distance? Lieutenant Jian asked. Unknown, Admiral Jin replied. But we should assume their sensor technology is advanced. General Wu Jin considered this new information. We must adapt as well, he said. Captain Taijo, revise our approach plan. Captain. Taijo quickly worked with the tactical team to create a new strategy. Instead of a direct approach, they would use the Jovian moons as cover, approaching from multiple angles. Earth vessels are acknowledging the new plan, Cadet Yunji reported. They are moving into position. As they approached Jupiter, the massive gas giant filled the view screen. Its swirling clouds of red, orange, and white created a stunning backdrop for the tense military operation. Unknown vessels now within sensor range, Lieutenant Jian announced. We are getting our first detailed scans. The scans revealed ships unlike any they had seen before. They appeared to be partially organic, with hull materials that seemed to flow and change slightly as they watched. Their technology is unlike anything in our database, Admiral Jin said, studying the readings. We should proceed with extreme caution. They have not fired upon us yet, General Wu Jin noted. Perhaps they are not hostile. As if in answer to his statement, one of the alien vessels suddenly accelerated toward the Earth-Zorathi fleet. It moved with impossible speed, covering the distance in seconds. Evasive action, General Wu Jin ordered. The Everstorm turned sharply, its engines flaring as it moved out of the alien ship's path. The Earth vessels scattered as well, demonstrating remarkable agility for their size. The alien ship shot past them, then looped around for another approach. Defensive positions, General Wu Jin commanded. Prepare weapons, but do not fire unless fired upon. Captain Taijo watched tensely as the alien vessel approached again, slower this time. It stopped a short distance. From the Everstorm, "We are receiving a transmission," Cadet Minho reported with surprise. "Audio only." "Play it," General Wu Jin ordered. A strange voice filled the bridge. It spoke in no language any of them recognized, but the tone seemed urgent rather than threatening. Translation systems cannot process this language," Lieutenant Jian said. Admiral Jin stepped forward. "Perhaps they need more language samples to establish communication," she suggested. "We should transmit basic language patterns in multiple formats." Captain Taijo realized that once again, the humans were thinking adaptively, finding a solution where Zorathi protocol had none. "Make it so," General Wu Jin agreed. As they began transmitting language samples toward the alien vessel, Captain Taijo wondered what this first contact would bring. War or peace, a new threat or a new ally. Whatever happened, he was glad to have humans fighting alongside them rather than against them. For 3 tense hours, the combined Earth-Zorathi fleet maintained position near Jupiter while transmitting language samples to the alien vessel. Captain Taijo watched the main view screen, where the strange ship hovered. Its surface seemed to shift and pulse almost like it was breathing. "Any response to our transmissions?" General Wu Jin asked. "Not yet, General," Cadet Minho replied from the communication station. "They continued to send the same message, but our systems cannot translate it." Admiral Jin had been working with a team of human linguistics specialists via remote link. She approached the command center with a determined expression. "We have an idea," she said. "Our computers cannot translate their language, but we noticed patterns in their transmission that suggest mathematical concepts." Captain Taijo looked interested. "You believe mathematics might be a universal language?" "It has worked before," Admiral Jin said. "When humans first encountered the Proxima species, we established initial communication through prime numbers and simple equations." General Wu Jin nodded. "Proceed with your plan, Admiral." The human specialists prepared a new transmission based on mathematical principles rather than language. They sent simple equations, geometric shapes, and astronomical information about the solar system. "The alien vessel is moving," Lieutenant Jian reported suddenly. "It is changing position." Everyone watched as the alien ship slowly rotated, revealing a different section of its hull. A portion of the surface changed color from dark gray to a pulsing blue. "We are receiving a new transmission," Cadet Yunji announced. "It contains similar mathematical patterns to what we sent, but with additions." Admiral Jin studied the incoming data. "They are responding to our mathematics," she said. "They have added their own equations and are sending what appears to be astronomical data about their origin." For the next hour, the exchange continued. The humans and Zorathi sent information, and the aliens responded with their own data. Slowly, a rudimentary form of communication developed. "I believe they are trying to explain why they came to our system," Admiral Jin said, reviewing the latest transmission. "Based on the astronomical data, they appear to have traveled a great distance." Captain Taijo studied the star charts the aliens had sent. "This indicates they came from a system nearly 50 light-years away," he said. "A tremendous journey." Suddenly, the alien ship emitted a bright pulse of light. When it faded, a new image appeared on the main view screen. It showed what looked like a star exploding, followed by several ships similar to the one before them fleeing the destruction. "I think they are refugees," Admiral Jin said quietly. "Their star system may have experienced a catastrophic event." General Wu Jin considered this information. If they are refugees seeking a new home, why did they approach with such a large vessel? It appears designed for war. As if hearing his question, the alien ship sent another transmission. This one showed images of the large vessel being attacked by another, even larger ship of different design. The images showed damage to several sections of the refugee ship. They were pursued, Captain Han said over the communication link from his Earth vessel. They may have built their ship for defense against whatever was chasing them. The next transmission from the aliens included images of planets in their system being destroyed. The final image showed the pursuing enemy ships heading in the direction of Earth. They are warning us, Admiral Jin realized. Whatever destroyed their homeworld may be coming here next. The command center fell silent as this information sank in. The alien refugees had not come as invaders, but as harbingers of a greater threat. General Wu Jin turned to Admiral Jin. It seems our alliance may face its first test sooner than expected. Admiral Jin nodded grimly. We should establish better communication with these refugees. They may have valuable information about the enemy they fled from. Over the next few hours, communication with the alien refugees improved. Through mathematical concepts and simple images, they learned that the aliens called themselves the Veshir. Their home system had been attacked by a species they called the Devourer, which consumed resources from entire planets, leaving nothing behind. The Veshir escaped with as many of their people as they could, Lieutenant Jian explained as she compiled the information. They have been traveling for nearly 20 Earth years looking for a safe system to settle in. And they believe the Devourers are following them? Captain Taijo asked. Yes, Admiral Jin confirmed. Based on their calculations, the Devourer fleet could reach our system within 1 Earth year. General Wu Jin called a strategic meeting with the senior officers from both Earth and Zorathi forces. Captain Taijo attended along with Lieutenant Jin and the human Captain Han. We face a situation unprecedented in our histories, General Wu Jin began. A threat not just to Earth or the Zorathi Empire, but potentially to all inhabited systems in this sector of the galaxy. Admiral Jin displayed the information they had gathered about the Devourers. According to the Veshir, the Devourers do not communicate or negotiate. They simply take what they want and destroy anything in their path. A conventional military response may not be sufficient, Captain Han noted. If they destroyed the Veshir homeworld, their technology may be superior to ours. The room fell silent as the officers considered the gravity of the situation. Captain Taijo thought about what he had learned about humans in the past weeks. Their adaptability, their determination, their refusal to accept no-win scenarios. Perhaps, Captain Taijo said carefully, this is a situation where the human approach would be valuable. General Wu Jin looked at him with interest. Explain, Captain. The humans have shown us that they excel at finding unconventional solutions, Captain Taijo said. They adapt, improvise, and overcome challenges through creative thinking rather than just applying greater force. Admiral Jin nodded. Captain Taijo is right. This threat will require more than just military strength. It will require innovation and adaptation. And cooperation, added Captain Han. No single species can face this alone. We will need to form a larger alliance combining the strengths of humans, Zorathi, and perhaps the Veshir as well. General Wu Jin seemed to consider this for a moment. Then he did something rare for a Zorathi of his rank. He smiled. 1 week ago, many of our junior officers laughed at stories about humans, he said. They thought tales of human adaptability and determination were exaggerated myths. He looked at Captain Taijo and the cadets who had joined the mission. Now they have seen the truth, and that truth may be what saves us all. Admiral Jin extended, her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Together, then, we will face this threat as allies. General Wu Jin clasped her hand with one of his forearms. Together, he agreed. As the meeting ended, Cadet Minho approached Captain Taijo. Captain, when we first heard the stories about humans, I thought they were just tall tales to frighten cadets, he admitted. Now I understand why General Wu Jin respected them so much. Captain Taijo nodded. The stories focused on physical feats, which made them easy to dismiss, he said. But the true strength of humans lies in how they think and how they face challenges. Do you believe we can defeat these devourers? Cadet Minho asked. Captain Taijo looked across the room where human and Zarathi officers were already working together on defense plans. Admiral Jin was showing General Wujin something on a datapad, and both were nodding in agreement. I do not know, Captain Taijo answered honestly. But I know this. If anyone can find a way to defeat an unstoppable enemy, it would be humans. And now, with our alliance, we have combined our Zarathi strength with their adaptability. Outside, the viewports of the Everstorm, the Earthships maintained their protective formation. Beyond them, the Veshir vessel pulsed with soft blue light, no longer a potential threat but a new ally in the coming storm. Captain Taijo watched as Cadet Yunji worked side by side with a human officer, their differences forgotten as they focused on the common goal. He thought about how quickly everything had changed, from dismissing human myths to planning the defense of the galaxy alongside them. The humans have a saying, Lieutenant Jian said, joining him by the viewport. The truth is stranger than fiction, Captain Taijo nodded, and sometimes more wonderful as well.